fasting girls phenomenon.
I really connected with the two women at the center. I thought it was a unique relationship, rarely seen in a film, between the nurse, played by Florence Pugh, and the little girl at the center, played by Kila Lord Cassie. And they have to save each other and find ways to understand each other, and that was my emotional connection to it.
And I talked to the Swedish director Lasse Hallström about his film Hilma. It tells the story of the visionary artist Hilma af Klint. We also talk about ABBA because he directed so many of their music videos. All that's coming up on the Arts Hour.
Hello, I'm Emily Thomas with the BBC News. NATO foreign ministers are meeting in Romania to discuss the war across the border in Ukraine. The alliance has promised unwavering support to Kiev as Russia continues to target Ukraine's infrastructure and power grid. Opening the meeting, the NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said everyone was feeling the cost of the conflict.
We are all paying a price for Russia's war against Ukraine. But the price we pay is in money, while the price the Ukrainians pay is in blood.
The NATO meeting is expected to focus on providing more military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. From Kiev, here's our correspondent Jessica Parker.
Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba will be at that NATO meeting today, and it was interesting, we heard from him actually yesterday in terms of what he says Ukraine needs right now. One of the pleas is a pretty familiar one: air defence systems to try and protect its skies against these missile attacks. But he also referred to the strain on Ukraine's energy grid as well following those missile attacks. The most recent one, of course, last week on Wednesday. Lots of expectation. You could see another one this week.
China has warned protesters who rallied against strict COVID rules that they have to abide by the country's laws. At the same time, the authorities appear to be responding to concerns about China's COVID policies, as Michael Bristow reports.
A spokesman said Chinese people enjoyed rights and freedoms, but couldn't break the rules. It's the strongest official comment yet about the demonstrations that erupted over the weekend. Whatever the law says, in China no anti-government protests are allowed for long, and the police are now preventing further gatherings. But the authorities have also launched a campaign to increase the vaccination rate among the elderly, vital if China is to relax its zero COVID policy. Following the protests, officials now seem to realise they have to find some way out of their current approach to the pandemic.
Pakistan's new Army Chief, General Asim Munir, has been sworn in. The post is considered to be the top job in a country where the military has always wielded great influence in politics and foreign policy. The former spy chief takes over the army command at a precarious time. On Monday, the ceasefire between the government and the Pakistani Taliban came to an end, with the militant group saying it will resume attacks. A Kenyan court has temporarily suspended the government's decision to lift a ban on genetically modified crops. The government last month reversed a 10-year ban on growing and importing GM crops. It said the move would help the country become more food secure, especially in light of recent droughts. Critics argued that it would lead to the disappearance of indigenous seeds and leave farmers dependent on imported ones. This is the latest world news from the BBC in London. The Palestinian Health Ministry says 3 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces during clashes in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinians say one man was killed near Hebron and 2 brothers near Ramallah. From Jerusalem, Tom Bateman reports.
The brothers were Jawad and Zafar Rimawi, both students in their 20s. Palestinian sources say they were shot dead by Israeli troops as confrontations broke out near the city of Ramallah as soldiers used live fire against Palestinians throwing stones and petrol bombs. Separately, a Palestinian man was shot dead after 2 army jeeps carrying reservists on an exercise broke down near Hebron. Residents reportedly pelted the soldiers with stones, and in response the troops opened fire on them. The military says its forces were also shot at and improvised explosives were thrown.
Police in southern India have stepped up security around a port being built after scores of people were injured following protests against the project. The demonstrators, mostly Christian fishermen, blocked the entrance to the port, saying it will erode the coastline and destroy their livelihoods. The developers deny the claims. The British government has removed a section of its new online safety bill which aims to make it a criminal offence to encourage self-harm on the internet. Technology firms will no longer be obliged to take down material judged to be harmful if it is legal. Campaign groups have described it as a hugely backward step. There's been widespread concern in Britain that damaging online material has contributed to teenage suicides. Australia's biggest state is being forced to scrap tens of thousands of fines issued for breaking COVID restrictions after a top court ruled them invalid. The Supreme Court says the notices issued by the Government of New South Wales didn't give a sufficiently detailed description of the offences committed. More than half the fines will now be withdrawn and any payments made refunded. That's the latest world news from the BBC.
There are pockets where there's uncertainty because of political crisis or global security issues, those kinds of things. So I wouldn't say as easy, but I would say it's trending that way. And of course, with technology changes and greater harmonization across nations to make frictionless travel more plausible, we are seeing good advancements and we're expecting it to continue.
What about China in particular? Obviously, pre-pandemic, China was a very, very big growth market for your members. You're not really seeing that recovery yet.
Well, China's experienced a great domestic travel a market during the pandemic. Even that has somewhat been restricted with some of the health protocols that they felt they've had to put in place. So China is still not completely open. Chinese are not able to travel outside of the country. It's really at this point, again, because of health protocols that they feel they've had to put in place. And so there is some restriction there, and hopefully that'll change in time as it has changed elsewhere in the world.
Arnold, you're not worried particularly about the fact that we're seeing inflation on the rise in a lot of countries around the world, eating into disposable incomes? You think people will still travel and take vacations no matter what?
Well, first of all, I think we should all be concerned about inflation if it impacts those that have lesser means to adapt and adjust to it. And so it is a real issue in terms of social equity and social justice. In terms of travel, what we find is that it may change travel patterns or selection of travel activities, but in the end, in our case, in the cruise industry, for example, the business I'm most familiar with is, I led the Carnival Corporation for a number of years. When you look at cruise, for example, we find it's pretty recession resilient because people do want to travel. In the case of cruise, it's of a greater value than equivalent land-based vacation in most instances. But for travel in general, people may adjust their travel, but they will tend still to travel because they want to connect with loved ones and neighbors, as I said before.
You just referred to the fact that you've just stepped down from the board of Carnival after more than 20 years, very distinguished time at the helm. You obviously had to do a great deal to keep the business going during the lockdown periods. I think you raised something like $26 billion in liquidity. Did you ever worry that the business wasn't going to make it through?
Never worried that the business wouldn't make it through. These crises happen over time. If you look through history, there's always been challenges, world wars, pandemics, 2016 Spanish virus, etc. Well, as these things start and they end, you just don't know how long they're going to last. So you have to do, if you're a business enterprise, is make certain you survive it. So you make sure you have liquidity for an unknown, period of time, because you don't know how long it's going to last. But when it's over, there'll be good times ahead. So was I worried we wouldn't make it? No, our people were fantastic and innovative and creative. We started off in a great situation. But we did have to make some aggressive decisions to ensure we had liquidity to survive the pandemic.
All right, Arnold, it's been many years since we last saw you on the programme. It's great to catch up with you again. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Ian. Be safe.
And next year we'll see developed economies falling into a mild recession, while despite remaining above central bank targets, inflation should start to moderate the economy slows. Those are the expectations of JP Morgan Asset Management, which also thinks next year could be a good one for both stocks and bonds. Well, joining me now is Karen Ward. She's Chief Market Strategist for Europe, Middle East and Africa at JP Morgan Asset Management. Karen, great to have you with us in the studio after such a long time. Your thesis is that inflation moderates, but it's still going to remain above those central bank targets.
Yes, I think it's going to be a little bit of time to see the back of it entirely. But I think for consumers, it will start to feel better because headline inflation will start to fall over the course of the year. But actually, some of the persistence in inflation will actually be from wage growth. And so real disposable income, that pressure that you were just discussing, that should start to ease over the course of the year. But I definitely think this inflation situation will improve. But I don't think we're going back to the very low inflation that obviously characterised a lot of the last decade.
So you're talking about a mild recession in developed economies. How are you defining mild here?
Mild is one which I think doesn't sort of spiral on itself, in my view. If we think back to what was so awful about 2008, was we had a big overhang of housing across the developed world. Took a long time to find new sources of growth, and of course the banking sector was in difficulty, and that also fed into the length and depth of that recession. We really don't have those excesses in either sectors that have boomed or in leverage across the private sector. So it should be a slowdown, because quite honestly, we came out of the pandemic with a lot of economies just running a little bit too fast. So it's a sort of necessary moderation in the pace of activity, but I don't think it's going to spiral on itself and give us certainly anything like what we experienced in 2008.
So do you see any countries avoiding recession?
There will certainly, I think, be pockets. The US looks a little stronger than Europe. Europe, not only are we, of course, facing an inflation problem, higher interest rates, but we have this overarching concern about, energy now that we aren't receiving the energy that we used to receive from Russia. So we've got that question about scarcity, cost of energy, that I think is going to be a bit of a dark cloud over Europe for much of the next 6 months, possibly even into next winter. But the thesis, I think, across the developed world is that probably few parts will avoid that recession, but it will be pretty mild across.
Now, one of the big eye-catching things in the report is you're more excited about bonds, use the word excited, than you are for the best part of a decade. Are we talking about sovereign or corporate bonds here?
Sovereigns initially, but increasingly, I think, towards corporates. I mean, it's been an awful year for the bond market. If you like, what happened is we all woke up to the fact that inflation isn't dead, and therefore central banks had to dramatically adjust their policy. But I think we've been through that period of reset. And that period of awakening. So as inflationary pressures start to moderate, I think the central banks get comfortable that they've done enough. So therefore interest rates can stabilise, and suddenly we're in a world where bonds do what they're supposed to do for us. They provide us income. They help with a portfolio in making sure that bond prices go up when stock prices fall. So that's why I'm excited, although it is not great to be known as the woman who's excited about bonds. So you need to get out more.
But there's a great line in there. But at one point, 90% of all global bond issuance was yielding under 1%. I mean, it's staggering, and it's not that long ago.
No, absolutely. I mean, probably the Eurozone is been the biggest awakening that I discussed. I mean, 3 years ago, if you'd have said the ECB at some point will have a policy rate of 3%, most people would have looked at you like you were completely mad. But yet here we are, we've had that adjustment, and it's exciting for investors. I think investors fear a world of higher interest rates, and I think we shouldn't. We should challenge that idea, and not only for bonds, but for a whole portfolio, we're looking at better returns.
And in equities, the picture's a bit more nuanced, but even there, you think a lot of the bad news is in the price.
Again, markets are forward-looking. We've seen the central bank slam on the brakes this year. We know that recession is coming. In fact, if you look at the Fed, the US central bank's survey, more economists think there'll be a recession next year than at any time since the 60s. More often than not, actually, that means economists get it wrong and there won't be a recession. But anyway, we know this downturn's coming, so the market's ready, it's braced, it's expecting corporate earnings to fall. I think we've done a lot of that adjustment, and therefore, it might not be massive upside next year, but we think we're past the worst.
All right, Karen, we've got to leave it. There's so much more I wanted to ask you, but anyway, look, it's great to see you again. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Some other business news stories for you now. And the drugs giant AstraZeneca is buying Neogene Therapeutics, which is a biotechnology company working on a field of therapies for targeting cancer. It will pay an initial $200 million for the business, which could ultimately rise to $320 million if certain targets are achieved. Neogene, which is based in Amsterdam and in Santa Monica in California, works on so-called T-cell receptor therapies, which is a way of targeting and killing cancer cells. Its technology is an advance on that because it can also identify cancer-specific mutations and thus unlock new ways of targeting cancer. EasyJet said this morning that early bookings for next spring and summer were looking positive. The carrier said peak holiday weeks this winter, such as October half-term and Christmas week, were back to normal levels of volume, while forward bookings for next Easter were ahead of this year. Well, the news came as EasyJet reported a narrowing of losses as air travel recovers with the lifting of COVID-19 related restrictions. The airline made a pre-tax loss of £178 million during the year to the end of September. That was down from one of £1.136 billion during the previous 12 months. And the property company that owns much of Chinatown, Covent Garden and Carnaby Street in London's West End said this morning it was seeing evidence of a strong recovery in consumer spending. Shaftesbury said it had seen a sustained recovery in confidence and activity, driving growing footfall and spending ahead of 2019 levels, with its tenants reporting average monthly sales now 6% ahead in both of pandemic levels in both hospitality and leisure and retail. Well, the company, which is merging with the rival Capco, reported a pre-tax profit of £119.1 million for the year to the end of September. That compared with a loss of £194.9 million during the previous 12 months. Well, earlier we discussed the World Travel and Tourism Council Summit in Saudi Arabia, but of course it's not the only big global event taking place right now in the Middle East. There's also the small matter of the World Cup in Qatar. And investors have been showing growing interest in the region too, according to my next guest. North Swede is founder and managing partner of Global Ventures, which is one of the leading venture capital firms in the Middle East and Northern Africa. Great to see you this morning. The region attracted record sums of investment last year from venture capital. Has that continued into this year?
Well, thank you for having me, Ian. Yes, it has continued. We're continuing to see more investors from around the world in venture capital, as well as other asset classes coming to the region. It is less than last year, as the whole world has retrenched a little bit in the venture space, but it definitely is an increasing amount of capital.
And what's put it on the radar of investors?
I think many things have really contributed at this point in time. So first of all, I think that definitely the pandemic and the highlighting of the way that some countries in the region have managed that and attracted talent and capital has been key. With that then came the awareness that the region is really 1.5 billion people, if you look at all of the Middle East and Africa, which tend to be one market as we consider it. And in that 1.5 billion people, you have half the population under the age of 30. So that means that you have not just growing consumers, but also a growing creator base. So as attention has come into that and said, okay, well, what are these people doing? What is happening here? What does the venture ecosystem look like? There has been a lot of excitement, and we've seen many international investors start to invest in the region.
You made a really interesting point there, that a lot of investors, that the whole region is lumped together, North Africa and the Middle East. There is a world of difference between a country like Tunisia and, say, Qatar, isn't there?
There's a lot of difference, and really it varies not just across the needs, the dire population needs, whether it's healthcare. So when we take a look at healthcare, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, you have 0.2 doctors per thousand. In MENA, you have 1 doctor per thousand. But if you take a look at Europe, you have 4 doctors per thousand. So the needs are the needs. It's still massively under-resourced in terms of healthcare, in terms of education as a region. How dire that need is varies from one country to another. But regardless, the desire then to really adopt technology to solve these problems exists across markets. And the solutions that are being created by similar young demographic. And the question just always is, how do you use cutting edge technology to solve these problems that affect hundreds of millions of people, regardless of how dire the need is? The need is still there, regardless of the market.
You mentioned there healthcare and education. Are those two areas where you're seeing a lot of startup activity, or is it other spaces as well?
We are seeing a lot in healthcare, education, financial inclusion. So even if you think about the role of fintech in financial inclusion, and you really think about how we went from 86% outside the financial ecosystem down to 55% as a region, the answer was not by building banks. it was fintech. In healthcare, how we look at providing healthcare access is not by building hospitals, it's digital health. Right now, we're seeing a lot of innovation and investment in agri-tech when we think about food security or in the energy management space. So our perspective on energy is very much, you have 750 million people around the world without power. 80% of those are in the region. How do you solve for that in microgrids, using solar and others? What are real solutions? And it's not about thinking outside the box. There is no box. There is no infrastructure. There is no legacy in some of these markets. How can you then use technology to address those problems and export?
Obviously, there's a lot of concerns about the broader economy globally right now, the rise of inflation, higher interest rates. The region's being largely insulated from that to date, but you don't think that's going to continue?
Well, there's two answers to that question. The first is we always lag behind. So even in 2008 and 2001, there was a 6 to 12 month lag on kind of the global economy and then how that translates into the regional economy. But the second answer is that everything you just mentioned are really dynamics that the founders are used to in the region. Inflation, currency, geopolitical instability. These are the nature of emerging markets, and specifically the Middle East and Africa and some parts of those. So the founders that we invest in and we back typically are that much more resilient. For them, this is day in and day out how they built the company. 25% of our portfolio is profitable, very atypical for a Series A VC firm. So when we take a look at these founders, for them it really is what are the learnings that they've had in building their businesses that they potentially could share with the rest of the world.
All right, Noor, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Great to see you this morning. Thank you. Still to come here on Ian King Live. We're going to have a look at how the markets are doing this Tuesday morning. Don't go away.
I think I was an army of one, as you'll recall, when I was in your studio, defending his decision to go into the jungle. But actually, it seems I wasn't alone. Millions of people must have voted for him, because otherwise he wouldn't have been third and made it into the final, which is, I have to say, a damn sight better than I did on the show. And I'm a bit jealous of that, but proud of him for having proved some of his haters wrong. What seems to have happened is three phases. First of all, punishment at the beginning when he did do all the trials, then acknowledgement that actually he was playing a straight bat in the jungle, and then at the end, perhaps a degree of forgiveness. Of course, there are many people who really carry on being very angry and they vilify him, and to an extent people like me for defending his decision to go in. But I said the worst that could happen, he comes out as unpopular as he went in. That seems to
How to go from employee to entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
100 is keeping its head above water, currently some 58 points to the good, 0.75% higher, and that's been helped by some of the mining heavyweights. The big Hong Kong and China exposed stocks, Prudential and Standard Chartered, are among the leading blue chip gainers right now. In percentage terms, there you go, Prudential up nearly 5%, Standard Chartered up 2.5%. Outside the FTSE, the flow controls solutions specialist Rotork, the shares there nearly 3% higher on broker comments, but look at that in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there. The oil services provider John Wood Group, the shares off by just over 11% there, following a profits warning. It's very much a risk-on day in the jargon, and that is being seen in the foreign exchange market. The pound currently up by just over 0.2% against the US dollar. Sterling also a 0.7% higher right now against the euro. The single currency, meanwhile, up 1/3% against the greenback. Well, joining me now is the head of investment at Interactive Investor, Victoria Scholar. Victoria, welcome to you. I mean, it's very, very difficult to get a handle on what's going on in China now, but I mean, the markets do seem to have taken, certainly in the Asia-Pacific region, a bit of heart from this talk of stepping up the pace on vaccinations.
Yeah, not just that, even the anticipation of an announcement sent Chinese markets higher overnight. We saw the Hang Seng surging more than 5%, the Hang Seng Tech Index up even more than that. And the rally started ahead of that briefing that came out at 7 a.m. UK time, in which the authorities essentially announced plans to increase vaccinations for the elderly and to reduce the amount of time between the vaccination and the booster to 3 months for those aged 80 and above. But the authorities were still very clear that they wanted to make the point that people's complaints weren't about the sort of heavy-handed approach to COVID, rather and the fact that it was a one-size-fits-all measure. It was just the additional measures that recently been implemented that have been causing this sort of civil unrest that we've seen. But in terms of the markets, like you say, very much a risk-on day. We saw CanSino Biologics, which is a vaccine company in China, jump heavily because of the expectations of a ramping up of the vaccine efforts. And we've also seen the Chinese yuan and oil markets rally as well.
Now, we heard from EasyJet earlier this morning. I mean, the outlook statement was pretty positive, but the share price is off some 3% right now.
Yeah, it feels like a rather negative reaction to what all in all looks like quite a positive update. You know, it was a record quarterly performance over the summer, and yes, it reported a full year loss, but it certainly narrowed from last year when we were in the midst of COVID. And it also said that the peak holiday weeks like October and the Christmas time have actually gone back to normal volumes post-pandemic. I think the markets were spooked by this rise in fuel costs that looks like it's set to be a major headwind, and already a headwind for the company that's increasing its costs and making it a bit more challenging to be profitable. Now, remember, this was the year that was meant to be the comeback for the airline sector that was hit hard, of course, during the pandemic. But 2022 has brought problems of its own with strikes, cancellations, and, of course, the war in Ukraine that's sharply increased inflation and fuel costs and labour costs as well.
Now, after we came off air yesterday, there was quite a major announcement from Shell which caught your eye.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. The acquisition of Denmark's Nature Energy, it's Europe's largest biogas producer, for a cost of 1.9 billion euros. And interestingly, it comes after a similar acquisition from its rival BP in the United States with Archaea Energy. I think it signals the fact that these oil and gas giants are looking for ways to diversify away from fossil fuels. We know that there's been a chronic underinvestment in oil and gas lately. And of course, because of the green agenda, it looks like green energy is set to be the future and a real growth area for some of these companies. On top of that, there's the idea of sort of energy security. And, you know, we don't want to be overly dependent on Russia for natural gas, and biogas is actually a green alternative to this source of energy.
All right, Victoria, got to leave it there. Good to see you this morning. Thank you. Still to come here on Ian King Live.
There's somewhere for odds and ends, somewhere for maps and books, and with the back seat folded down, even somewhere for the kitchen sink.
They don't make them like that anymore.
In Africa, with SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. The of darkness.
So what did that
myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
Body is your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Starr Radio. We don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we they call them London. And I said, you know, just have fun and stay blessed.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio. Starr Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world in your hands. The hand that made me who I am. Same for now, yesterday, and forevermore. And that's what makes you great. You are God. You will never change. You remain the same till the end. Till the end. You are God. One who took my pain, took away my shame. Lord, you reign. That's why forever call you great. Great are you.
Okay, great are you, Lord. I'm saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to each and every one of you who have tuned in this morning to listen to us on the Star Radio UK Morning Show. Today is the 29th day of November, the year 2022. By the time now 10:39 from the hearts of London. It is the Star Radio UK Tuesday edition of the morning show. Let me say good morning to Satoj, who is listening to us live from Ghana, and to the team this morning, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, Mr. Francis Guy, my able producer. Yeah, making sure that every program or everything is working nicely before even I come on air to bring you everything that you got to know. Let me say massive good morning to you, sir. To my brother Felix all the way in Aberdeen. Massive good morning to you, Felix. Long time no here. I hope everything is well. And to Captain Felix Teacher as well. Yes, good morning to you, Reverend Michael Esiama. He will be joining you this morning, tomorrow morning, tomorrow dawn exactly at 5:30 for a prayer session, you know. But wherever you are, once again, thank you very much for tuning in to listen to us. I am your one and only.
This is the morning show, Archie. You will never change.
But let me take this opportunity to say good morning to Amaya Jirgini, Anthony Adedeji Aziz. Good morning to you, Miss Gold, all the way in the UAE. Good morning, Bishop Badeshina Adeshola. Yes, good morning to you. But share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. But as you know, like with all the updates and stuff that is going on here on Star Radio UK, when we come your way, we make sure that we bring you everything that you need to know. But the moment we have the signal that updates and stuff has to go on, then we have to bring the program to a close. But for sure, I tell you that within this short span of time, I'm going to make sure I deliver on my promise. I'm not like a politician.
My heart, you make it down.
So once again, share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. So I'm coming your way from Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
You will never change. You remain the same till the end.
Well, by way of program online, I'm going to bring you the quote of the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel updates. Now move on across the globe to look at the global stories known as global trotting. We then follow from there to bring you updates from Nigeria, where my colleague Mr. Olayomi Koiki is lined up every story that he needs to bring your way. All that you have to do is to keep your dial. So log on Star Radio UK and exactly at 11 o'clock Mr. Olayomi Koiki will be with you. And then from there we continue opening the lines around 11:30 thereabouts, so that you can add your voice to the discussions at 12 o'clock. We'll be winding down because, as I said, the updates, the work that has to be going on here will be going on. They're giving me out to 12 o'clock, but hopefully we'll be able to extend it maybe a quarter past or thereabout. But share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones. Once again, welcome to the show. Well, I entered the studio and then the premises, and then Mr. Francis Guy was telling me, hey, you did see that we did well. I said, who did well? He said, oh, the Black Stars. I said, well, you did well. Congratulations to you. And congratulations to all the African countries as well. And we wish them all the best. We hope that they get something out of it.
You make it down.
About 10:43 the time, and then let's crack on. All protocol observed. Now, if you knew that your time left on Earth was short, what would you do with it? That is a big question. You know what? The answer is do something in that direction today. So leave us in today is your last day. Look at the people that you want to impact and go on to do so.
One who took my pain, took away.
It is Star Radio UK 10:44 the time. Let's move on straight to the weather front. Well, it's a bit nippy. But I know for sure that when it comes to the northern part of England, it's quite nippier than it's here in the south. But well, let me tell you what is happening in the south. Well, this afternoon, mist and fog will largely lift into low cloud, but a few patches may linger in places. It will remain dry, but overcast through the day, and winds will be light. Tonight, we'll see widespread areas of low cloud persist, and these may be quite dense in places with some mist or fog possible. A dry night and calm with light winds expected as well.
I worship you.
I'm still bringing you the temperatures. Temperature is going to be 9 degrees. The low is going to be 5 degrees. UV level is going to be low. Pollution is going to be low. Sunset 15:57 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 07:40 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast. Okay, let's take a quick break and let me bring you the travel updates. All coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Well, keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. I'll keep you navigated. I promise. I'm on the Starr Radio Travel Update that comes your way every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:46.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Well, on your travels this morning here in London and other parts of the UK. Well, on the underground, apart from, well, they are all in good service there, let me put it that way. London Overground, TFL, Rail, and DL are good service there. But when it comes to the London tram link, there are minor delays due to a shortage of trams. So check before you leave if you normally travel on those routes. Now moving on straight to the major routes in London. Yes, on the major routes in London, A4, Central London Red routes and North Circular A406 have all got closures. That aside, all the others have got no exceptional delays. You can zoom through it like no man business. But keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads as we keep you navigated. I promise our bond. Now moving on straight to the river bus. On the river bus, Woolwich area has got special service. All the others, good service. Now moving on to the London cable car still planned closures. Sunday 27th November after 20 hours no service, and no service from Monday the 28th November until Wednesday the 7th of December inclusive. So please, you can't use that there as well. Now keep your eyes on the roads, keep your eyes on the roads as we keep you navigated. I promise our bomb. Moving on to the final segment of the travel updates. That is the National Rail. Now on the National Rail this morning, Avanti West Coast has got reduced timetable, and then the cross country reduced timetable there as well. But Northern Rail has got disruption between Carlisle and Settle Hexham. Now Scott Rail minor delays on some routes. Southwestern Railway disruption between Barnes Bridge and Hounslow. Southeastern Railway has also got amended off-peak timetable on some routes and service disruption as well. So check before you leave. Thameslink has also got minor delays on some routes. First Transparent Express amended timetable which is affecting travels there as well. The final one, the Transport for Wales has also got minor delays. That aside, all the others, good service there. And that is why I say once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes where? on the road.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Yo, what's up, people? This is a boy Raskin Bobo One. Tune in every day, every night at the Starr Radio UK with the big man them Archie. When I say Orta, you say fire.
Welcome back to the program. Well, this afternoon exactly at 1:30, BB Clement will be coming your way with BB Means Business. So you know what? Make sure your dials are logged on at 1:30 when she comes your way. Also, this Saturday she's launching a second book. Well, I'll be talking more about it. How you can make money according to the precepts of the Bible. That's a paraphrasing, but I'll be telling you more about that. And she's going to be throwing more light on that during the course of the week's post launch programs that Starr Radio should be featuring on Starr Radio UK. So make sure you are your dials are logged on Starr Radio UK to benefit from that, and you should be directing you how or where to get the books from. All right then, now let's move on. Let me say good morning to my mom herself, my spiritual mom, Mrs. Mary Bruce. Mom, good morning to you. I hope you are doing very, very well this morning. But it's now time for Global Trotting. Let's crack on. Well, what is happening from across the globe when it comes to Nigeria? Yes, Yomi has posted a lot of information there, and let me bring that your way. And the first one says APC Assembly tackle Adeleke governor sacks 12,000 workers. Well. You know that he was starting to do that. Yesterday we were talking about that. Well, it's sacked about 12,000 workers there. Is it that he's going to be bringing in PDP workers who, fill those positions. Okay, they are okay. Some other stories as well. ASU warns of new crisis and seeks intervention. So what is going to happen? ASU seeking intervention there. APC Assembly. Okay, my apologies. Aminu said he was arrested, beaten on Aisha's order. Oh my! That is the gentleman who alluded, I think so, that the first lady has put on weight because she's, let me put it this way, colloquial way, as in the Ghanaian policy, chopping the state money that has made fat or big. Well, an undergraduate of the Federal University of Jose Jigawa State, Aminu Adamu, has been languishing in detention after security officials comprising the police and men of the Department of State actually did what to him, arrested him over a post on Twitter. Well, I was saying that if they've got all the means to be arresting people that way, that means they can protect people. Why are they not trying to seek those who are abducting and all these terrorist activities? Why don't they seek to find out? Well, a lot more are going to be coming on from there as well. So coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Scores killed as Nigeria military jet bombs vehicle conveying terrorists in Borno. And terror, that's a terror war over 886 hardened Boko Haram fighters for prosecution. Those are some of the stories making the rounds from Nigeria. Mr. Olayomi will be throwing more light on that once we have him on in the next few moments. But on the African continent, Portugal sent school investigators to Sao Tome and Principe. Now, why should Portugal send those? Can't Sao Tome and Principe themselves send their own or do their own inquiries? You see, we still depend on these colonial masters, and they'll be telling us, dictating the pace and telling us what we got to do, and that seems to be what is happening. Cameroon rescue efforts continue as death toll from landslide increases to 15, and Central Africa says border nation bombed its troops and Russia allies. Please don't bring another war. We are tired of what is going on at the moment, but you want to know more is going to be coming your way. Now, when it comes to other stories making the round, Brett Simons, Ghana's golden gambit on oil, FPSO Kwame Nkrumah. We'll be looking more into that as well, and we'll be telling you more about EU commits £1 million, 1 million euros to strengthen operational capacity of Ghana Immigration Service. Okay, yeah, we'll be telling you more about all that in a moment, but it's all Starr Radio UK. Now moving on to other parts of the world as well. Well, Chinese protesters say police seeking them out. Yeah, people who attended protests against COVID rules say the police want to know their whereabouts. You know, this part of the world that you live in, if you go out demonstrating, as people say, you say, they'll be looking for you. Well, they've got CCTVs everywhere monitoring people. So definitely. So if you don't believe in the cause, I say it all the time, don't get on there. But if you believe in it, you stand for it, you suffer consequences for it, you might chalk your victory now, or maybe in the future, posterity will be the judgment of all that, or the judge of all that. But what do you think? It's all coming your way. Putin is using winter as weapon of war in Ukraine. That's what the NATO chief is saying. Well, bomb all the facilities, water, electricity, and everything. Once you have done that, well, they will seem to be crumbling because people cannot live in that part of the world, the cold, the chill there. Okay, and Russia anger as Pope labels ethnic groups cruel. Chechens and Bayat soldiers are generally crueler than other Russians in Ukraine. The pontiff has said, well, maybe he knows some Chechens. And Musk feuds with Apple cover over Twitter advertising. Elon Musk says Apple has cut Twitter advertising and has threatened to remove it from the App Store. Well, so you see the picture of Elon Musk and his face. He is so angry. But well, somebody say, who cares? All right then. Let's account for the population of Christians for first time. Well, the number of people who say they have no religion increased. The 2021 census for England and Wales show. Well, so less of the population in the UK are Christians. Okay? And a plan to make big tech remove harmful content has been at. Minister denies weakening the online safety bill after dropping the legal but harmful material measures. You know, some time this year, we were doing some broadcasts, and there were some things that were going on in other parts of the African countries, some from our own backyard, and then we tried to put them across. They quickly just brought it down, blocked us, and all the sort that went on there. However, you see people, I mean, what is going on is true. It's not that we were saying that or inciting people to go on that path, but these are atrocities that people were facing. But what? So, let's see what happens on that front. Hotline for public to report corrupt Met officers, claims of corruption or other abuses of power by police officers can be reported via the hotline. And who will be at the receiving end? Yeah. Is it not human beings? Well, somebody will say, let me think. Alright then, so this is a lot of going to be coming your way. The Prime Minister says the golden era of UK-China relations is over. What does that mean? And how does that impact the Taiwanese issue that is going on at the moment? Well, you want to know more? You don't need to go anywhere. Just stay tuned and enjoy this tune from CC Bedu. And he says what? Hallelujah. Enjoy it and I'll be with you.
Worldwide, online 24/7. The best radio show. To Bishop Adeshina.
My Bishop, I hope you are doing very, very well, and thank you very much once again for joining us on Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's gone 4 minutes past the top of the hour, and we should be having Mr. Olayomi joining in. I think he's joining, but we can't see him. In the background, something from CC Bedu featuring Sheila Joy, and he's just saying hallelujah to the King. A Tuesday edition of the morning show, Starr Radio UK. Don't you worry, we will make sure that you enjoy the full length of the music during the course of the program. But for now, it is my singular honor to welcome once again the White Lion himself. Yes, Mr. Olayomi Koiki. Yomi, massive good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners. Good morning to Frank. Good morning to all the production team this morning, Tuesday, the 29th of November, 2022. As we are just about some few days left before the end of November, and I welcome those of us that are joined on the sister broadcast to my left hand side.
Yes, let me welcome every one of you. Those on the other platforms, wherever you might be, welcome. We acknowledge you. We thank you very much for your patronage as well. Now, Prince Abimbola says, Mr. Archie and White Lion, well done. And the rest of the crew, yes, we say well done to you as well. But for you, we will not be here. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. How are you doing, Yomi?
Well, doing very well. But as usual, there's quite a lot, on the table. When you look at the world, I've been following China, and it seems the COVID that has gone a bit quiet out of Europe and other part of the continent seems to be something that the Chinese government and the residents are still facing a lot of difficulties. And then taking back to Qatar, the football, human beings will always be human beings. We will never listen to instruction. Do not do such things. There will still be some individuals, probably maybe for recognition or for the cameras or the social media. We saw what happened where somebody ran into the pitch with some kind of outfit that is not allowed in Qatar as they want. And that takes us back again to the Yoruba nation, where there's a lot of now allegation put across to Chief Sunday Igboho that he has actually collected money from the federal government of Nigeria. And that has actually left him to release a kind of a very, very strong audio yesterday that even as he is sleeping on his own mattress on the floor in Benin Republic, somebody that has his own house, but for the benefit of his own people, that needs to be free. And then taking us back to Nigeria as a whole, where there is quite a lot of people that are facing difficult things in life. But we are still here. And we're here, to make sure that we serve the humanity and to make sure that things that people do not know, we can bring it to them on Starr Radio UK. So I say good morning once again, Mr. Archie, Frank, and the rest of the team, and let's crack on.
Yes, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki for you, and once again, thank you very much for joining in. Now, let's quickly move on to the statement that Chief Sunday Igboho released. Now, since last week, when last week when we had Chief Mrs. Abiola making that statement, that pronunciation, I was asking the question, and a few people that I was talking to was saying that the front should not be fragmented, because the moment the front is fragmented, they will be having problems. So some people will start accusing fingers at each other. Is that what seemed to be happening? And what did Chief Sunday Igboho say in response to that directly, for the sake of those who have not actually followed the whole issue that is going on?
Well, he hasn't said anything, and as a spokesman, we have not released any statement to it. But Professor Akintoye spoke over the weekend, when he was engaged with a particular group from South Africa, and it was broadcast. And he actually says that, he was not consulted neither was Chief Sunday Igboho consulted regarding that declaration that was made a week ago now, last week, Monday, the 21st. You're quite right. When we have that fragment in anything, it would also bring, the lot of followership that wants, freedom in the peaceful means, to be a little bit concerned that, the unity is not there. There's a lot of work going on to see if that fragment can be sealed quickly, but it has already put us into, the minds of so many people that are already in doubt in the first place whether a Yoruba nation, can eventually come true, before the end of this year. But you're quite right. When these kind of different issues going on, they're very, very sensitive issues, and it seems now that different people are taking different sides to some of those of the leaders that are leading the movement.
Yeah, I mean, you being a spokesperson for Chief Sunday, let me just put this one across to you for the sake of those who are listening. Is it because that they've delayed in making any pronouncement on the declaration? That is why people are pointing accusing fingers, saying that maybe they are in cahoots with government now, and therefore that's why he stepped back. No, he said that he's lying on the floor. So I'm thinking that, oh yeah, he's just chilling because maybe, as some were alluding, that maybe government has paid him something.
Well, you're quite right. It seems the hope that the delay has been there, as much as no one has given a clear evidence to all these allegations. But also we got to remember that as much as we have been told continuously that this year will be the year that the Yoruba nation will be declared, but it will go through different stages and different process. But because we have two voice of the leaders that are speaking to the minds of the Yoruba people, we're talking about Chief Mrs. Odupe that is also speaking, and likewise the lead of the Yoruba movement, Professor Akintoye, through the YSDM. People are skeptical that there is a delay, and nobody's giving a reason for that delay, even though we know that a process is what is meant to happen. Nobody amongst these leaders have actually given a concrete date to when a declaration will be made, until one was made last week, Monday, that has now become the talking. I mean, as much as this declaration has occurred, it has not had any effect yet in Nigeria, neither, as people are saying, that it doesn't even seem to have been circulated to all the medias in Nigeria, and Nigeria is still working as it is. The next phase that was meant to have kicked in was the super rally, which was something that Prof announced even as far back as October 8, that during that process of the super rally, a declaration would kick in, and that would then mean a transition government. But it seems right now, like you said, the fragment is there. Prof has continuously said that the Yoruba people are not in support of Tinubu, even though we know the Afenifere, the social cultural group, are not supporting Tinubu as well. They are putting their back into Peter Obi, that the Southeast is the next to be in line to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the Yorubas, when it comes to not just those that are campaigning for the self-determination, we still have a divided Yorubas that are saying Tinubu, is somebody that we can give a backing to. Let's give him that hope. But the Yoruba in the self-determination are pointing finger around the leaders that, it seems there is a cohort amongst them, to allow Tinubu to see whether he will become the president. Should he not become the president, then the second agenda will kick in, which is the Yoruba nation. And this is coming because, some of the kings, like, the king of Oluwu, spoke about it, that should Yoruba not get that presidency, they will fall back in line, with the Yoruba nation. And these are the mind that is becoming skeptical, that it seems that from Benin Republic, they are purposely slowing down the movement in favor of Tinubu, even though it is not as it is.
Well, listeners, quite an interesting development when it comes to the political terrain in Nigeria and everything that is going on. But hey, I say it all the time. If you believe in a cause, you stand for it. You might suffer consequences. You might even lose your life for it. But you know that posterity will be the judge of what you are doing or what you are standing up for. So why not? Well, it is Starr Radio UK. 14 minutes past the top of the hour, the time, the morning show, the program. Mr. Olayomi in our North London studios. I'm Archie here in the South studios. Well, yesterday we were talking about Adeleke, and we were talking about he is going to be sacking a few people, but he sacked up to 12,000 workers. Why? APC out, PDP in? Is that what is going on?
Well, and this is why the politicians fight all the way through to secure that 8 years when they are in government, because should you lose out of that 8 years and you just end up running a 4-year term, it will be very difficult to manage. It will be very difficult to please everybody that has campaigned for you, because 4 years, is not enough, to make sure that, what you plan to do. Yes, it looks like now the assembly is now tackling the current governor. We call him the dancing senator, but he's not the dancing governor, because yesterday I saw him dancing to Buga, in his first address to, the citizens in Osun State. APC Assembly is now tackling Adeleke, the governor, for sacking 12,000 workers. The All Progressive Congress and the Osun State House of Assembly have tackled the new Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke over the 6 executive orders that he signed yesterday, just under 48 hours, into the job. They condemned the new governor for reversing some appointment and job recruitment made by his predecessor Boyega Oyetola. In his first official action as the governor, Adeleke, who was elected under the PDP, People's Democratic Party platform, announced the sacking of the alleged 12,000 workers that was employed. The question then is, were these individuals employed at the last minute of the previous governor? Because, like I said, when the governors are going, even though they didn't plan 4 years, they fight to get that 8 years, but then they will have to amend a lot of things, and the new governor doesn't seem to be pleased. He's not just sacking the 12,000. Some of the 3 monarchs in Osun State have also been affected. He has also deposed 3 monarchs and allegedly ordered the withdrawal of the certificate of return of the local council chairman that was elected under the APC just in October. 15 local government elections conducted by the State Independent Electoral Commission. The decision to withdraw their certificate of return was also contained in a statement that was signed, by the Secretary, Executive Secretary Adedapo Adejuwon in Osogbo in southwest of Nigeria. Also, the court held that the Electoral Commission did not comply with the provisions of Section 24 under the law and the Section 28 of the Electoral Act 2022, which mandated to give a notice of 360 days before the conduct of the election. It's not just staying on that alone. Furthermore, the governor has also abolished, like we said yesterday, the state of Osun appellation, which was promulgated by one of his predecessors, Rauf Aregbesola, that is now in charge of the prison break that is going on in Nigeria as we speak right now. Is one of the ministers there. He has also froze their state account, reversed also the appointment of 30 permanent secretary that the previous governor Oyetola Boyega did as well. Why promising to correct the past injustice, corrupt act, bad policies of the immediate past administration? All these is going on in Osun State in just 48 hours. Remember that it was only given that appointment of the role of the governor on Sunday, and within that 6 executive orders have taken place in Osogbo.
It's interesting. Anthony Adedeji, massive good morning. But do you have any information pertaining to the reaction of people in the state? Because when it goes on like that, some people will say, yes, this is somebody who is cracking the whip. Maybe people were employed because of racism and stuff, not by merit. So some people will say, yes, he's a man of action. But if he's just being vindictive, then what are we actually looking at there? What do you see?
Well, it seems that the politics in Osun State. Remember that he contested 4 years ago, and there was belief that it was rigged in favor of these past former governor that left. So people were actually just waiting, for the next election, and that was why it got, the governorship that we are now, discussing. So it seems that as much as in politics, it will also favor some and would not favor some. But presently, right now, there is not anything that we can look to say that the people in Osun State are not pleased with. Osun State, we're expecting him to be the governor in the last election, but that didn't come true because there was a lot of rigging and manipulation, and that is why he lost out. So the expectation now is probably he's doing the needful, but time will tell.
Well, time will tell. I hope that there's not going to be a lot of legal wranglings going to go on that is going to, hinder progress, for the state to actually progress or development. So let's keep fingers crossed. As Olayomi said, time will tell. Well, is it Starr Radio UK? 90 minutes past the top of the hour. Now, yesterday we were talking about this student who, because he tweeted that, the first lady is looking fat, it's because she's been chopping some naira, and we had the DSS, we have the police arresting this guy. Well, a tweet here. People do insult the queen. They say they don't like the queen. People say all sorts. The queen is past now. Some people are against the King Charles III, and a lot of things. People say anything that they want because there is freedom of speech, but we know that it comes with responsibility. Now, whatever this guy said, does that warrant such a, because he's saying that he's been beaten, that he's been maltreated and stuff like that. What more do you have to say about that?
It seems that the issue between the First Lady Aisha Buhari and these young Nigerian has now really blew out of proportion, to so many Nigerians that are now asking the question that the DSS seems to have more time to look after the president, which is allowed in any country around the world, but having the time to pick up this young boy, and then what do we know? Aisha Buhari, notorious AD camp, was actually the one behind these arrest of this young boy. Ordered the policemen to pick up the Nigerian student on the campus, assaulted him for days over a tweet post, as we have been saying. The AD camp to Mrs. Aisha Buhari, the Nigerian First Lady, Usman Shugaba, has been identified as the senior police officer who actually engineered the arrest of a student of the Federal University, Dr. Aminu Adamu Muhammad. Muhammad was recently arrested. He has been assaulted, tweeting that Aisha was feeding fat on the poor people's money. Authoritatively, the ADC was the one who sent a policeman to bring the student to Aso Rock for a round of assault and brutalization. He was one who sent the police also to Dutch to pick up the poor student. They brought him to Aso Rock, not even to the police station in Abuja, and started assaulting him. The ADC is a power drunk, as also his principal, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, as one of the sources. Muhammad tweeted, which was posted in Hausa, and the tweet, which was accompanied by a photograph of Mrs. Buhari, loosely translated as "Mama has eaten poor people's money and is now full." It also seems that Nigerians have that freedom of speech. Remember that President Muhammadu Buhari himself actually shut down Twitter because he was reminding the Biafra that I hope you've not forgotten what happened in 1967.
Well, listeners, interesting things never happen and never stop happening when it comes to the African continent. And this time around in Nigeria, well, it's what happened. What do you think? We want to have your reaction on all that. Post your comments. Do you think it's a fair treatment of this student? What do you think? Let us know. All right, then, Starr Radio UK. Now, moving on straight to some other stories. Now, scores have been killed as Nigeria military jet bomb vehicles conveying terrorists in Borno State. Somebody will say, well, the military are acting now. We're talking about 800 terrorists who have been killed. Whether they are or they're not, we're not very sure. But can you give a bit of details about that story as well, sir?
Yes, the military, have been working, to make sure that they can at least, take down as much of the activities of the notorious, terrorists happening in Nigeria. And, as much of that is going on, in the northeast and the northwest of the country presently. And the headline is the the military has now also used their firepower, moving into, the deadly zone of where the terrorists have actually been camping and trying as much as possible to neutralize them as well. Also, from another headline that we are getting, which is also coming into the wire this morning, also says that over 866 having Boko Haram fight us for persecution. There have been a lot of reasons why Nigerians are saying that you can't just continue to keep them without actually taking them to court. Let's remind that it didn't take long before we saw the 12 innocent individuals that were taken 1st of July from Chief Sunday Igboho's house last year during the assassination attack on his life, and they were appearing straight away in front of the cameras and portrayed as criminals, rather not portrayed as individuals and citizens, friends and colleagues, and those that are his co-workers that are living with him. They were actually paraded with all sort of weapons that the government, even Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, says it is cock and bull to put out weapons in front of the cameras and say all these was actually removed from Chief Sunday Igboho's house. But what do we know? That in Maiduguri, the theater commander, Northeast Joint Operation Abin Kai, the Major General Christopher Musa, said yesterday that we now have about 866 Abin Boko Haram that has been detained. We're currently awaiting transfer to Giwa project in Kanji in Niger State for persecution. He also said that 323 detainees were transferred to Operation Safe Corridor in Gombe State on the 8th of September this year, 2022, for de-radicalization, demobilization, and rehabilitation program of the federal government. That is a bit something that we are concerned, because if the federal government is saying that we have transferred 300 plus individuals to be brought back into the society, the question is, do we have the right method to do so? Because we have seen that it hasn't worked. Here in UK, we saw in London Bridge, if I'm not mistaken, I think a year ago, when somebody that has been into terrorism and going through a process eventually came out and make more havoc as well. General Musa would disclose this while giving the highlight on the surrender Boko Haram terrorists. Says currently the Giwa Center has now a total of 1,893 suspects in custody. He was actually speaking through Colonel Obina Azuka, the active theater intelligence, as we know. He also said that out of the surrender person, 16,577 were active male fighters, 24,499 are women, while about 41,000 are children. These are staggering amount of numbers that we are dealing with when it comes to terrorism in Nigeria.
Well, we hope that justice prevails. I mean, because you cannot treat some people with kid gloves and others use proper hammer to be hitting them. So let's see what happens. But before I allow you to bring you the rest of the story, there's one of the story that is actually, making me worry or think if the writing is that it will help. Now, census in Nigeria. We talked about the fact that when it comes to the numbers, some are saying that on paper, the North seem to have the numbers, but in reality, the South should have the numbers. Now, they're saying that, something about the census, they're saying that, they're going to conduct another census, and they promise that this one is going to be credible. Now, who is going to be counting what? Are they going to take people from the South to go and count the people in the North to make sure that they actually know the number of people actually there? Or what is going to happen? What do you think about this census thing that is happening?
Around the world, if you do not have the right numbers up to the local government, you would not know how to cater, for the people. So in Nigeria, the census, as you've just said, according to the National Population Commission, promises Nigerians a very credible census in 2023. NPC has reaffirmed its commitment to conducting a credible, reliable population and housing census in 2023. Nasser Kara, the National Population Commission Executive Chairman, has reaffirmed the agency commitment to conducting a credible and reliable population and housing in 2023. It was given this during a declaring an open workshop in Abuja on Monday. it is so easy to, to speak in front of the journalists and presentation and a workshop to say that we will get a clear censor. But what we do know is, the first censor in Nigeria was actually rigged by the British government, to favor the northern part of Nigeria. I mean, it was actually inflated from about 32 million to about 50-something million. And that has given the edge line that the North are now saying that they have the numbers. And that is now very, it's proving very difficult, to work around. And that is also making it very difficult, to have the numbers of the other part of Nigeria in terms of power sharing in the country today. And that is also part of the marginalization that the middle belt is talking about, the southeast is talking about, and the southwest is actually talking about. But whether the digital censor is going to be working, that would all be subject to what and consequence that we're all going to be looking up to in 2023 as election, the self-determination, and those that says without a proper constitution from the Minas, a Nigeria election must not go ahead. So we now have 4 different fractions of individual groups that are now saying that a Nigeria election will favor us, a restructured Nigeria, a self-determination, or the bringing down of the 1999 constitution that is not for the people but was created as a military decree by Abdusalam Abubakar, before the commencement of the 1999 democracy that we now have.
Now, when it comes to the reviewing of the Constitution, I know that Buhari has said several times to say if you want to do it, take it to the Senate, the Houses of Representatives or the Senate, and then they can see to it, knowing that the North still have got the numbers, and therefore, definitely it wouldn't happen. But when it comes to birth and death registration, we know, especially those in the North, because of their religion, they are such that when somebody dies quickly, they say that next few moments the person needs to be buried. So how does that registration actually go on there? Because if we have a proper way of keeping records, then the actual number of people there can be ascertained. Because if you come to my household, assume I'm living in the North, and I tell you that maybe some of my people have gone into the bush to be, cattle herders, or be working, maybe, so I'll say I've got 12 children. Meanwhile, maybe I've got only 2. So do you think that is something that seems to be adding more confusion into this particular census and the numbers when it comes to the North?
And that is why, the question have always been whether, those individuals that we've seen, on the PVC, the voters register, they're very, very minor. And you wonder how they got that, PVC in the first place. And just like you said, how do you get the right numbers when, the system has not been put in place? A lot of complaint about, young minors that have been put on the PVC. And likewise in the North, we do have a lot of those that cover their faces, and you don't. We have also seen, during the time of the registration of the PVC, as the president is currently, and that will take us to my next headline, in Niger at the moment, being, praised and worshipped by all the African leaders right there. We have also seen that, the PVC registration is actually taking place as well in Niger, which is completely far away from Nigeria, and you wonder why that is happening. But in the midst of all that, the president is enjoying, a very good performance review by some of the other African leaders. And he says here, President Buhari latest weekly performance review. President Buhari, in the course of the week, has won the heart of African leaders in Niamey, in Niger Republic, who share glowing testimonies of his leadership and likewise his quality. What are the quality? The African leaders were all in Niamey for the African Union Summit on the industrialization, economic diversification, extraordinary section on the African continent free trade area. Even though as a Nigerian you cannot just buy a ticket and travel to South Africa, you need a visa. You cannot do the same thing going to Kenya. You can at least get to Ghana and then without a visa. The African leaders are using the opportunity of the summit to attend the inauguration of the French version of the book, Muhammadu Buhari, The Challenges of Leadership in Nigeria in Niamey. Speaking at the book launch, President Mohaza Bazoum of Niger Republic described Buhari as an austere man, unaccomplished, humble man, an adamant patriot, and a committed Democrat.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio. You guys, this Brother Rick says, "Good morning, Brother Koiki, the ambassador, and Mr. Archie. Good job. Good morning to you, Aziz. We hope you are doing very, very well." It is Starr Radio UK 11:34, and let's hand over to Yomi for the rest of the stories and what is happening in other parts of Nigeria. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And quite a lot is still happening in Nigeria today as we continue to monitor, the headlines and the news. 2.7 million Nigerian youth and others have now HIV, according to the UNICEF. UNICEF said around 110,000 children and adolescents between the age of 0 to 19 died of AIDS-related cases last year. The United Nations Children's Fund says about 310,000 people were newly infected with HIV in 2021, bringing the total number of young people living with HIV worldwide to about 2.7 million last year. UNICEF says around 110,000 children and adolescents died of that cases in Nigeria as well. So that is coming, as one of the headlines, and let's touch more on some of the other headlines as we have them, this morning. Again, as the president has been giving accolade right there in Niger Republic, AK-47 rifles, military paraphernalia, and uncovered in Lagos Ibadan Expressway forest by Amotekun. As we do know that the Lagos Ibadan Expressway has become a very dangerous road network. The Southwest Security Network, known as Amotekun, your state has uncovered AK-47 rifles and other military paraphernalia and other items that are hidden in the forest by the suspected kidnappers. On Monday yesterday, the commander of the corps, Olayomi, told journalists in Ibadan that Amotekun operatives received about 4 AK-47 rifles, 4 magazines, 50 rounds of 7.62 millimeter live ammunition. Also recovered were wraps of Indian Air raincoat, 2 Nigerian Army caps, and a beret. He said items were recovered when the operative combed the forest following rising kidnap cases on Lagos Ibadan Expressway. We talked about 3 billion was what was coming into the CBN when Jonathan was in power, but that doesn't seem anymore as NNPC now remits $0 to the central bank. Godwin Emefiele, the Central Bank of Nigeria, stated over the weekend that the official foreign exchange receipt from the crude oil sales into Nigerians' official reserve has dilapidated from 3 billion monthly in 2014 to $0 as of today. A very, very sad one. He was actually speaking during the 57th annual banker lecture that was organized in Lagos on Saturday. So it seems that Nigeria is not making much money. The CBN governor now claimed that the number of student visa granted to Nigerians by the UK alone climbed from average of approximately 8,000 per year in 2020. Guess what? To 66,000 in 2022. So that means more Nigerians are coming to UK to study, and that is also putting a lot of pressure, on the forex as well, indicating an 8-fold increase. Why are we getting that? Alone, the Nigerian students coming to UK are putting in about 2.5 billion in a foreign exchange that is now tied to UK alone. That is a staggering amount of money, and that shows, that the education sector in Nigeria, and likewise the UK government, which we know the reason for behind this was just after the NSAS, the UK government relaxed the student visa, so that more Nigerians will probably try their luck if they can get to UK and probably forgot about the atrocity that they are facing back home. Let's go straight to the social media at 11:38 on Starr Radio UK this morning and see what is trending on the social media from the Nigeria this morning. Dear Nigerians is trending. Home Office is trending. Bola Tinubu is trending. Aisha Buhari is still trending at 62,000, and we all know the reason for that. Let's go straight. Bashiru Mustafa says, and I quote, Nigerian military set to prosecute 886 Boko Haram fighters as 323 others undergo de-radicalization. Nigeria is truly a scam. All these years they have refused to prosecute any terrorist, and now that we are shouting for the breakup of Nigeria, it seems now that the government, is trying to persecute a lot of them. So that is coming from Bashiru Mustafa on the social media, this morning. Let's go and look at, some of the other things that is trending this morning as we have them. Let's look at, Simon Ekpa this morning says, Okudi over, the criminal and killer is about to take cover. You can't run away from those you order their killing. I told those criminals that I will chase them away from IPOB and Biafra will come. Those they have used can now understand the mess. Also, it says 96 days countdown to Biafra as well. Again, let's look generally when we say Nigeria on the social media. We're not sure whether iOS is going to be removing Twitter anytime soon. I don't know what you are going to be buying the Elon Musk phone, Mr. Archie, because I still want to be on Twitter, and that means that I might have to be one of those. I actually ticked on that, following him, and I'm not sure whether you saw what he actually kept on his side bed. I don't know whether you've seen that picture.
I've not seen that one yet.
Okay, now there was a picture of Elon Musk showing us, what his side bed looks like. He has about 2 revolver, a caffeine coke, and that has actually ignited a lot of other people showing their side bed. I'm not sure whether I can show my side bed. All I can say is I have 3 mobile phones, a side lamp, and my notebook that takes all the notes coming in on a daily basis. The last one is coming from Mr. Macaroni, and it says, and I quote, Madam First Lady, you are not God, oh. If you have any grievance whatsoever, go to court. You are not bigger than the citizens of Nigeria, neither are you bigger than the law. You should use your power to serve the people, not oppress them. Free Aminu now. I hope he's not going to be picked up as well, because he was actually picked up during the NSAS, beaten, and that means that the Lagos State could not use him for their campaign this time around, and he's sticking his head for Peter Obi.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. I say wonders will never end when it comes to Africa, when it comes to my country, Nigeria. Well, but a quick one, the MPA. Now, do you mean to say with the price rises in crude oil, the MPA are saying that they are not making any money?
The NNPC, you want to say?
NNPC, yeah.
It's a question that a lot of Nigerians are trying to battle around. If we are losing from $3 billion monthly in just under 8 years, nothing seems to be coming true. But the government is saying that more Nigerians are going to school in UK, about 66,000 of us, costing 2.4 billion, and that means that their account is dry.
Well, listeners, we might have to end it somewhere. But Believe Yourself channel, good morning to you. So well done, says, and well done to you. Thanks for your comment there as well. Yummy, before we go, if you have any comments there that you also want to put across.
Well, not much. All I'll say is that, don't touch that dial, because Archie is still there to take you through what is going on around the globe. I'll be back same time tomorrow. Remember, to follow us on all our social media handles. And if you're looking for, how to get more information about the conversation, why not check, www.starradiouk.com, where you can find the podcast, past event, the blogs, and all the reporters that gives on the Starr Radio UK. We're looking up to Ghana as they continue to represent us in the World Cup, and we hope there will be a great outcome. But for me, I leave you in the hands of Mr. Archie, and bye for now.
Bye, Yummy. Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. Mr. Olayomi Koiki, who brought you updates from Nigeria. It's now gone 18 minutes to the top of the hour. As I said, we have some update work that has to be taking place, but we'll be monitoring it very, very closely. It's supposed to be just after 12, but we'll be monitoring it and we'll continue with the broadcast. But for now, let's take a quick break and some music, and once we come back, we'll continue with the show. Don't touch the dial. Stay tuned.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Radio UK.
Okay, so something for you to enjoy and make your day. Those of you who have listened to all the updates from Nigeria, from Janet, it's a Orile Demi.
This is Starr Radio UK. In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
You are listening to Starr Radio.
for you, Eldani. I hope I pronounced it very well. You know, I love that tune. I don't understand the lyrics though, but I just like the rhythm and how she dances to that tune as well. And I say, well, I hope that you've enjoyed the tune as well, wherever you might be. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to exactly 11 minutes to 12. As I said, we just monitoring. We're supposed to be ending the program at 12, waiting for the updates to take place. But before then, let's crack on whilst we wait for the engineers to do what they gotta do. Now, let's move on straight to some other African countries. As Olayomi did say earlier on, well, the African leaders have gathered. They did gather for the AU meeting at Niger, Nigerian capital, Niamey. And, well, they seem to be singing the praises of Buhari, who next year will be leaving and therefore will not be part of another conference. So maybe that's why they think that it's about time they sing his praises. But do you think that is that enough for the country, for the continent as well? What do you think? Well. Now moving on straight on, Portugal has sent coup investigators to Sao Tome and Principe. That's the information coming through. Portugal has dispatched a team of investigators and experts from the judicial police at the request of Sao Tome and Principe to participate in investigation the failed coup attempt in this former Portuguese colony. Now, this team, made up of investigators and experts from the judicial police, as well as an expert in forensic medicine, was sent on Sunday following an urgent request for help from the authorities of Sao Tome and Principe, says a joint statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Justice. Now, Portuguese investigators will work directly with the judicial authorities of Sao Tome and Principe as part of the investigation into the events of Friday, as specifies the Portuguese government. The Lisbon decision follows the failed coup attempt on this small island country in the Gulf of Guinea that the government claimed to have foiled overnight from Thursday to Friday. Now, 4 people arrested following these events died, according to the Army Chief of Staff, Olinto Paquet, who did not give more details on the unclear circumstances. The government of this independent country since 1975 has firmly condemned what it describes as a violent attempt to subvert the constitutional order. Now, following a council of ministers on Sunday, while assuring that all investigations will be carried out to determine the causes and circumstances of the deaths, in addition to the investigations to determine the responsibilities for the attempted coup. Following several coup attempts, the last in 2003 and 2009, the parliamentary regime has asserted itself in the archipelago, considered a model of parliamentary democracy in Africa. He has alternated several times between the parties, the Liberation Movement of Sao Tome and Principe Social Democratic Party, the MLSTP, PSD, Center Left, and the Independent Democratic Action ADI Center Right of Mr. Travolta. Well, so we hope that they'll manage to resolve, but I believe in justice. I don't want them to just go personal vendettas against people and then they just go on that path doing all sorts. But I believe and I hope, keeping fingers and everything crossed, that the right thing is done. Investigations are done properly and corporates are brought to justice. What about that? Okay. Now, anti-apartheid icon Chris Hani Hani's grave has been vandalized. The story says the monument was vandalized overnight from Saturday to Sunday. One of the pillars is badly damaged. One side collapsed and the lighting system is what is happening there. Why an attack on Chris Hani's grave? Okay. The story says the grave of anti-apartheid activist Chris Hani was vandalized in South Africa a week after the controversial announcement of the early release of his killer. Now, sources from the municipality of Ekurhuleni, where the monument dedicated to his memory, said on Tuesday, November 29. The monument was vandalized overnight from Saturday to Sunday. One of the pillars is badly damaged. One side collapsed and the lighting system was stolen. A spokesperson, Zweli Dlamini said of the city located east of Johannesburg, and investigations was open for theft and vandalism. The monument consists of 4 marble columns symbolizing the pillars of the struggle against white power led by the African National Congress, in power since the advent of democracy in 1994. Well, South Africa's Janus Wallos, the killer of anti-apartheid leader Chris Hani, to be released. So is it some of the whites who have gone on to vandalize the monument? A demonstration against the release of the assassin of Chris Hani in the Hall of Heroes of the anti-apartheid struggle, and whose disappearance is commemorated each year in South Africa, gathered dozens of people on Saturday, all at the core of the ANC. The ANC said in the statement, deeply saddened by the vandalism and desecration of the monument. Communist leader and senior member of the armed wing of the Liberation Party, Chris Hani, 50, was killed at close range in his driveway in April 10, 1993 by the Polish immigrant linked to the far-right white Afrikaner Janus Wallos. Well, should he be released or not? Somebody say, has he served his term? Well. How or what would that amount to? Well, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Some of the other stories making the rounds on the African continent. Central African says border nation bombed its troops and Russian allies. Let me just bring you that one quickly, and then we move on to Ghana and look at some of the other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world before we bring the program to a close. The Central African government said a plane that flew back to a neighboring country bombed the base of its army and Russian paramilitary allies in the northwest on Monday, threatening retaliation. The aircraft dropped explosives in the town of Busangoa, targeting the base of our defense forces, that of our allies, as well as the cotton factory. The government of this country, where the army and hundreds of fighters from the Russia private security group Wagner are fighting rebels, said in a statement. This is the first time, at least publicly announced, that a suspected attack by a hostile aircraft has occurred, at least since the civil war began in 2013. The attack occurred in the middle of Sunday night, shortly before 3 a.m. according to Bangui. Well, it is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in Ghana as well. Bright someone have said that Ghana's golden gambit on oil, spoken about that. Of the motley crew of ideas the government of Ghana has churned out in recent days and weeks to deal with the country's deteriorating public finances, none has caught fire like the decision to start buying oil with gold rather than dollars. Now everyone has crypto anarchists to gold bugs is doing cartwheels trying to chip in their 2 cents about how the move contributes to the long-awaited demise of the petrodollar system. The government of Ghana has professed 2 goals, namely reduce the pressure on the local currency, the Ghanaian cedi, caused by large fuel importers, perennial search for US dollars to bring in fuel from overseas. In the government's new model, the country will buy locally produced gold in local currency and exchange the gold for fuel produced in the Gulf or elsewhere. By removing the dollar input into local pricing, it aims to offset the effects of the alarming depreciation of the cedi on retail fuel prices, and thus moderate price rises at the pump. That is to say, if the dollar exchange rate is no longer a factor in how wholesale prices are set, then they won't factor into retail prices either, and the breakneck depreciation of the cedi won't be passed through into final prices paid by consumers. But do you think that is a wise choice that the government has made? Well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. Now, when it comes to the budget statement that was read last Thursday in Ghana as well, some experts have said that it was a missed opportunity by government. The lead up to Ghana's budget presentation was filled with political drama and outsized investors' expectation. On Thursday, the 24th November, the much anticipated event finally came off in the shadow of a World Cup fixture between Ghana and Portugal. Now, it goes on to say the budget as finally presented has many twists and turns, but on the essential, it's a bit of a Frankenstein mashup. Now, on the one hand, it contains the clearest yet admission by the government that the physical situation is dire in ways that are not predominantly attributed to external factors like Ukraine conflict and the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore that significant waste cutting is warranted. It is a standard practice of Ghanaian budget speech drafting during economic downturns to frame the domestic crisis against the global picture. Below extracts from the 1999 and 2000 budgets when the Asian financial crisis was looming large. The 2023 budget had its fair share of global scapegoating, but not to an extent where all emphasis on domestic triggers of the crisis was totally neglected, as has been the case in most policy statements in recent times. Yet, on the other hand, the bulk of the numbers do not add up anywhere close to the much speculated austerity package austerity package. In fact, this is one of the most expansionary budgets in the history of Ghana at a time most investors and analysts expected a contractionary policy. But what do you think about all that? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to a minute after 12. I'll be bringing the program to a close in the next few minutes because I've had my notice coming through. So just bear with me as I continue to bring you that. Let's take a quick break and I'll bring you some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of the world.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Yes, they've given me up to about another 12 minutes so that I can bring the program to close for them to take over. All right, then. So wherever you are, but remember this afternoon exactly at 1:30, BB Clement will be coming your way with BB Means Business. So make sure your dials are still logged on Starr Radio UK when that comes your way. Now breaking, as England and Wales prepare to go head to head at the World Cup later, 18 needs to do to reach the last 16. Those are comments that have been made. But what do England and Wales need to do to qualify? Do they need to draw? Do they play easy? Well, there are some of the stories making the rounds in the UK, but we'll be bringing that your way. So what is the point? Why don't we, present one team? So this is Great Britain, and then let them go play. Get the best of them. But what about that? All right then. Now, in other world stories, now Putin is using winter as a weapon of war in Ukraine. The NATO chief has said Russian president is using more brutality. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says as a cold winter looms in Ukraine. Why is he trying to do that for them to buckle and then come and maybe run to him to plead with him for him to stop what he's doing? I mean, all this that is going on, to what end? You've made your point. Why don't you let sleeping dogs lie? Well, and more on that front. Let me bring it in. Russia's Vladimir Putin is using winter as a weapon of war in Ukraine. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg has said Moscow is increasing waves of brutality, he says, ahead of a meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Bucharest. Now, the Defense Alliance has promised unwavering support to Ukraine as Russia continues to target Ukraine's infrastructure. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned Russia's strikes on the recently liberated Kherson region. Now, over recent weeks, Russia has launched extensive attacks that have left Ukraine without water and electricity supplies. Now, Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is visiting the UK and is due to address MPs later. Now, speaking, she said the British people should not forget the tragedy of the Russian invasion during the festive season. Well, somebody will tell you that, when it all started, we were all there making lots of noise, Now, I see that the momentum seems to be going down. The support seems to be going down. But she wants to make noise and say that, look, guys, wake up. It is still going on. But what can you do about that? Well, when it comes to China, the Chinese protest says, please seeking them out. Of course, when you go protesting in that part of the world, you should know what is going to follow. Well. But the people in China who attended weekend protests against COVID restrictions say they have been contacted by police as authorities begin clamping down. Now, several people in Beijing said police have called demanding information about their whereabouts. It is unclear how police might have discovered their identities. On Tuesday, officials renewed a promise to speed up efforts to vaccinate older people. Vaccination rates among elderly people are relatively low. Now, China has recorded numbers of new cases in recent days. Over the weekend, thousands of China took to the streets demanding an end to COVID lockdowns, with some even making rare calls for President Xi Jinping to stand down. And I call that problem, big problem for them. Now, but on Monday, planned protests in Beijing did not happen after officers surrounded the assembly point in Shanghai. Large barriers were erected along the main protest route and police made several arrests. The demonstration began after a fire in a high-rise block in Urumqi, Western China, killed 10 people on Thursday. Many Chinese believe COVID restrictions contributed to the death, although the authorities deny this. Of course, they would deny that. Now, asked whether the protests will prompt a change to zero COVID rules, an official said China will continue to fine-tune and modify its measures. Well, so let's see what happens. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. We've got about another 7 minutes to bring the first part of the program to a close, or the program to a close, as I did say. Now, still bringing you one more story from the world front. Well, Thai monks have failed drug test, leaving the temple empty. It's quite an interesting one. What drug tests were conducted on them? Now, a small Buddhist temple in Thailand has been left without any monks after they were all dismissed for failing drug tests, local officials have said. 4 monks, including the abbot, tested positive for methamphetamine in the North Province of the Fed Carbon, an official told the news agency. Nabonlet Thintaftai said the monks were subsequently sent to a health clinic to undergo rehabilitation. Interesting. The raid comes amid a national campaign to tackle drug trafficking. The monks were reportedly removed from the temple after police administered urine tests on Monday, which saw all 4 men fail. Now, officials did not say what had brought the temple to the attention of the police. Mr. Tintathai said that the temple is now empty of monks, and nearby villagers are concerned that they cannot do any merit making. Now, merit making is an important Buddhist practice where worshippers gain a protective force through good deeds, in this case by giving food to monks. But Mr. Tintaptai said the regional officials had sought the assistance of the local monastic chief, who had promised to assign some new monks to their temple in the Bong Samfan district in a bid to address the concerns of the worshippers. That's quite an interesting one. Now, you want them to sit there chanting, they don't sleep. They thought they needed help. Maybe taking this medicine, and then that will keep them awake and they are able to concentrate. But well, the officials have smashed them. Now, Will Smith says bottle rage led to Oscar's slap. We hope the actor was interviewed on US television for the first time since the infamous incident in March. And it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Now, interestingly, census that was conducted in the UK 2021 shows that less than half of the England and Wales population are Christians. Now, fewer than half of the people in England and Wales describe themselves as Christians for the first time. The census for 2021 has revealed the proportion of people who said they were Christians was 46.2%, down from 59.3% in the last census in 2011. In contrast, the number who said they had no religion increased to 37.2% religion free of the population, up from a quarter. Now, those identifying as Muslim rose from 4.9% to 6.5% last year. Now, people who were also asked about their ethnic group and national identity, the response of which were released in the result just published. The census is carried out every 10 years by the Office of National Statistics. People were asked to ask the broad question what their religion was, rather than being asked more specifically about their beliefs or religious practices in the voluntary question included in the census since 2001. Now, taking no religion does not mean having no beliefs, says Professor Linda Woodhead from King's College, London. Now, some will be atheists, a lot will be agnostic. They just say, I don't really know. And some will be spiritual and be doing spiritual things, she said. Now, separately, when people were asked about the ethnic group, 81.7% of residents in England and Wales identified as white, down from 86% a decade earlier, according to the census. And 74.4% of total population of England and Wales identified as white, as well as English, Welsh, Scottish, Northern Irish, or British. The next most common ethnic group was Asian British, or Asian Welsh, accounting for 9.3% of overall population. Now, minus 5.5 million people, up from 4.2 million. Now, it says the number of people identifying as Black, British, Black, Welsh, Caribbean, or African was 2.5% of population, up from 1.8%, taking the figure from 990,000 to 1.5 million. In terms of national identity, among those who describe it as not being the UK, the most common response was Polish, followed by Romanians. It may feel like a pivotal moment, with the census showing fewer than half of the people in England and Wales identifying as Christians, but for years social surveys have shown a rapid rise in those who define themselves as having no religion, often reporting that as the largest category. That is not the case in the census data. With its very simple optional question, what is your religion? The census does not illustrate the range of 22.2 million people in the no religion category. Now, from those who do not believe in God at all to those who do in some form or believe in the power of prayer and afterlife, or a spiritual in some way. The trend away from faith is not something that is reflected in major non-Christian religions, which also a rise with more than 1.2 million more people identifying as Muslim in England and Wales in 2021 as compared to 2011. As with ethnicity, pattern of family size and immigration are seen as contributory factor. Of those who chose to write in this and their answer under the any other religion option, the largest group identified as pagan, with a tenfold rise from 2011 in those identifying themselves as shaman. All right, so this is why I bring the program to a close. The technical team, give me a couple of minutes. So let me say thank you very much to each and every one of you for joining in on the program today. God willing, tomorrow we're going to be bringing you another edition of the morning show. That'll be the Wednesday edition, of course. But remember, tomorrow happens to be the last day of November. 30 days of November. So tomorrow is the last day. But today, any one of you celebrating your birthdays, I say a happy birthday to you. God bless you, and I'll see you all later. But remember, this afternoon, exactly at 1:30, BB Clement will be coming your way with BB Means Business. But enjoy this tune from Avis Ramley, and it says One Love, a cover version of Bob Marley's tune. You know, I'm falling in love with his ways of music. But enjoy it. Bye bye for now. It's been me, your one and only Archie. Stay blessed.
Together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Whoa, let's get together. That's the remarks. There is one question I really love to ask. This beyond throw of Kansas Grove Sienna, who has hurt all mankind, is the only, believe me. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Hear the children crying, hear the children crying, saying I give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together, to fight is only Armageddon. So when well man come, there will be no doom. This beyond throw, you can see it's gross Sienna. There ain't no hiding.